I'll call the September 11th, 2024 meeting of the Fire Station Building Committee to order. We're meeting in room 120 at 1 Liberty Lane in Norfolk, Mass. We're also available via Zoom connection tonight. So all members are in attendance in person, so no need for roll call attendance. First agenda item is public comment. See two on Zoom. I think we have two people. There's two people in the waiting. It's probably Ron and Steve. Yeah. Hey, he's right there. All right, no public comments. So Steve, as soon as you're ready, go to OPM report.
Recording.
Hope so.
All right, so OPM report for today's Station Building Committee meeting on September 11th. So progress since our last meeting, which was on August 14th, is the punch list inspection and generation of a punch list has been worked on by Dawn Whittier. Punch list work has been ongoing with contractors. The automatic temperature controls, programming, and graphics have been worked on, and the graphics were finished today. The HVAC cab report, testing and balancing report was submitted at the end of last week. Electrical punch list and testing has been ongoing. The final plumbing fixtures and equipment connections have been installed. Painting, interior touch-ups, millwork casework has been ongoing. The temp entry intercom camera and mailbox has been installed, west entry. The mech connections were moved from the existing building to the new building. The state elevator inspection was performed last week, and the certificate has been forwarded and is in the cab now. The site work prep was done for the transition from phase 1 to phase 2. Station alerting system is ongoing and is actually operating as we noticed today during the job meeting. Audio visual rough installation and now finishes are going in as we had seen the screens during the tour. The movers came in on Monday and completed all the moves from the old station to the new station. The fire department is now in the process of emptying the orange rent a crate boxes that were scattered throughout the building into the furniture and odd things that they need to move from the old station to the new station. Furniture, there's some punch lists on the furniture that's being worked on. Norfolk's IT department and town's vendors have been working in the building. Affidavits were submitted to the building department from the architect and engineers. The already having jurisdiction, the building department inspections have been ongoing, and it has been stated by the building commissioner this morning that the TCO was being issued today. And last night we attended the planning board, who also recommended issuance of the temporary certificate of occupancy. The final certificate of occupancy will be issued once phase 2 is complete. I just got a few photos to show. A lot of it we've seen already, and obviously with the tour today, you saw what state it's in. But as of beginning of September, that was the exterior front of the building. So I always like to start with that photo. Then again on the 4th, we've got a couple views of the apparatus bay. You can see the epoxy floors are complete. The vehicle exhaust system is installed. All the mechanical systems are in. Next photo on the left is the temporary entry door on the west side. We've moved the existing building's intercom and camera to a temporary post so that when someone comes to the door, they can be let in, and the contractor ran a again, a temporary cat line to make sure that that is operable. Photo on the right is a view of the fire pole that comes from the dorm rooms into the app bay in its finished state. I think I showed it once before and its construction state. Next photo, taken on the 6th of September, is a couple of different views of the kitchen area, the island, and the cabinetry appliances on either side. Again, a couple different views of the apparatus bay on the 6th. Next photos is on the left is the orange renter crate boxes that were provided by the moving company to move into the new building from the existing building. This happens to be the stack that's up in the file room on the 2nd floor. And the photo on the right is the existing fitness equipment that had been moved over. And as we saw today, it's now they're put back together and set up in the room. Next photo on the left is the triage room, again showing the materials that were being moved from the existing station. Photo on the right is now the empty training room in the old fire station. Any questions on progress, where we're at? Okay, schedule look ahead, completing the punch list. Actually getting the issuance of the certificate of substantial completion from the architect for the building, which will coincide with the, at this point, with the temporary certificate of occupancy. HVAC commissioning is scheduled to start on Friday and go into Monday and Tuesday of next week. Owner training has started, but there's still owner training left to do. Transferring the attic stock to the from the contractor to the owner.
You have a key to leave it unlocked?
The O&Ms, as-built and warranties need to be submitted. And as we go into phase 2, the abatement of the old station is scheduled for Monday the 16th. Disconnecting utilities at the old station, which would be water, septic, and power, would also be next week. And then demolition of the old station start on the 23rd, followed by the demolition of the living quarters trailer. And then the contractor will start phase 2 site work, earthwork, the detention basins, drainage, and the parking lot and surface curbing, EV charger locations, and then landscaping for both phase 1 and phase 2. Their plan is to certainly install the plantings and put whatever lawns in they can. Whatever doesn't take, they will come back in the spring. The audiovisual installation is due to be completed on Friday. That is an owner contractor, not through the GC. And then we have continued delivery of owner purchase FF&E, dining table, task chairs, kitchenwares, the genie lift, facilities equipment. These are items that have not come in yet but are due shortly. So other construction issues, I usually review where Castagna sits as far as their completion. So through application 17, just through July, they are just shy of 90% complete with the project, which makes sense. We've got phase 2 work left to go, and it's around $2 million with plus the retainage. The fire station tour we had today at 4:30. We want to talk about any comments coming down
I mean,
at this point.
Yeah, I'll just say that, I mean, the building looks fantastic. Fire department certainly seems happy with it. I think the select board joined us today and one member of the planning board, and they were all very appreciative of all the hard work done by the project team and that the building looks great. I don't know if anybody else has anything else they want to add. So,
okay.
Nice job to
I will pass that on to Ron and Don are on the call, but we'll pass that on to Castagna also. Well,
yeah, I would, if you don't mind, Steve, Kevin, I'd like to say that the contractor and Vertex especially Steve and Doug, obviously, right? And I mean, the whole department, everybody who's been involved in this job, I don't usually say this until the job is done because we got phase 2 to go. This has been one of the smoothest projects where everybody truly works together as a team. Right from the ownership group to, I guess the vendors, right? The subcontractors and the vendors downstream. It's been great. I mean, it's been great. And I think that the appearance of the building and everything is just a testament to all of you guys leading this and having confidence in everything that was going on. So, I mean, from us, we would just like to thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you for that.
And I think, and I think we've said it before too, is Castagna was a great general contractor. They were collaborative versus being on the other side of the table and pushing back on everything. They came up with ideas for things that needed to be worked out. And I think that was a big part of it. You did not have I'm on this side of the table, you're on that side of the table that you do with some contractors. So that was very helpful for the project.
And it goes without saying that all that happened because everybody's just simply afraid of the chief.
I'm a big teddy bear, nobody's.
Myself included.
Thanks, Ron.
So another item that came up, and this is sort of more of accounting. The OPM has had a couple of amendments, but what was not included in one of our amendments was the construction materials testing and inspection services, which was performed by Yankee Engineering and Testing. I just looked at where we were at for phase 1, because all that was running through our billing. So we're at 47,401, and I estimated phase 2 about 5,500, only because we're going to have compaction testing for the paving and the roads, and potentially the areas around the basins and the utilities. So we had carried a budget of 40,000, so we are a little over. I don't know if we'll spend the entire 5,500, but I just wanted to put it out there that I'll be submitting an amendment for the construction materials and testing for $52,900. And again, it only gets billed if it gets used. So as you know, I'm sort of estimating hopefully a little bit high on phase 2, so that we don't come up to that point.
Sure.
So that's right now I'm not looking at anything else for Vertex per se on our staffing. But this is more of wrapping up accounting. So I don't think we need a vote on it because I haven't submitted the amendment yet. It's just a heads up. Then the next item is a follow-up to the Mass Save discussion we had at the last meeting. The Mass Save has the incentive assistance program with the Green Engineer providing a proposal for $12,500 for guiding the town through the occupancy period, so that you get the next phase of the reimbursement after 1 year of use. And as part of that, Mass Save reimburses 50% of that cost. So the cost to the town would be $6,250. At last month's meeting, it was decided to defer that vote to tonight's meeting. So,
and just, I mean, part of the reason why we deferred it, not necessarily that anybody was opposed to it, but just, I think we only had 4 of us here. So, I don't know if you or Ron can just give a little further information on like what the possible incentive gain is from tracking it for a year, like what the additional amount
Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the additional is another $1.50 a square foot
Correct.
after the 1 year, and that's based on the 26,000. I think they rounded up to 27.
Yeah,
So one of the letters.
yeah, so
Um,
we're talking $35,000 to $40,000
Yeah.
possibly.
so it seems to make sense numbers wise.
Yeah, and the
And
other
if you-
thing is that now you have a vendor who's, if you think about it as enhanced commissioning too, you have a vendor, meaning both Mass Saves and their technical rep, the green engineer. They're going to be reviewing the performance of the building. So you'll have somebody able to call Matt and say, hey, for some reason, your hot water is using a lot more energy than it's supposed to. We need to calibrate it differently, or we need to take a look at that. So really, it's another year of getting the bugs worked out of the system. So it's a benefit not only to you in terms of the incentive money, but it will most likely save you a little bit more money in energy use as the year goes on, and then subsequent years.
So we have a formal vote once we get down into the action items, but if anybody else wants to discuss that any further, we can do it now, or we can do it when we vote. So. Thanks.
So as far as sort of the TCO recap / schedule, sort of went through it, but I did put a slide in. Substantial completion is currently planned for 9/11 to coincide with, we expected receive the TCO. We got the elevator state inspection on the 4th. HVAC tab came in on the 6th. Punch list inspection it's complete on the 5th. 8th. Architect and engineering affidavits were issued on the 6th. A lot has happened in the last couple of weeks. The inspections and approvals from the various departments in the building department has been ongoing from the end of August through this morning. And the fire department move-in started on Monday and is going through this week. And the intent is the night shift on Saturday will be the first shift that actually stays in the station. And then the phase 2 schedule abatement is scheduled for this coming Monday for a week. So it goes the 16th to the 20th. Then the fire department is trying to set up a training exercise in the existing building to break a few doors down and maybe cut a few holes into the building once we get the clearances from the hygienist, that ends up being on the weekend, because the demolition of the building is due to start on the 23rd, and they're also forecasting that's a week. So site work will essentially start last day of September, beginning of October for through December.
Question. I'm guessing the question's for Ron. Ron, what's the punch list look like in terms of items?
Nothing drastic, but it is, it's an extensive list with a lot of touch up here and touch up there. There are some things that we're waiting on to get delivered. I don't know if the window shades showed up. Then there were some things that, we asked to change sort of in the, late in the game. So there are some things on the punch list. There's nothing significant, but like every other punch list, it's pretty lengthy, just in terms of touch up paint, getting all the nicks and dings out of things. There's nothing that I know of right now that Castagna is arguing about. So they've got the list, and quite frankly, the list gets smaller every day, because when we've finished a piece of one area, we've uploaded everything. So it's kind of like real time. As we do it, they're fixing it. So I would say if we had 1,000 items on the list, they probably have fixed a good majority of those items. And
I probably noticed a lot of tape on the walls marking paint, touch up things and so forth. Sorry, Ron, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and 75% of those things you wouldn't notice if you just casually walk through the building. Many of those things on the list is because the department, us, Steve and Doug, we've lived it every day, so we see these things. But if you're a casual observer, you wouldn't even notice. But Castagna, like I said, hasn't pushed back on anything. So far, so good.
For instance, the bottom edge of the borrow light frames on the interior windows, I looked underneath it, it's painted the same color as the wall instead of the gray. No one would notice that because you're looking down on it, but we look from the bottom up. Screws missing. There's a couple hot items for the chief, getting the fobs for entry into the building, but Cassani's got a plan B on that, which you reviewed during the tour for issuing of keys, and then the closet rods in the personnel lockers, which that's one thing that Cassani was having an issue with their millwork guy, but their plan B is that they're buying closet rod tonight, and the support cups, and they're going to put in temporary ones so that the firefighters can hang their clothes into the lockers, which is key for occupying the building. Yes. A little bit. Good.
Yeah.
That's it. Sorry, Doug.
Any other questions on the OPM report? So next agenda item is architect report. So Ron, I don't know if there's something specific you want to go over.
That's new. We have an architect's report now.
I don't know. Somebody said to add it to the agenda.
So no, I must have.
I wanted to bring up a couple things that I put it as a report, but
Okay.
you had in an email, you wanted to bring up a couple of things of like post occupancy items.
Right. So a couple things. As we move forward, there's going to be a couple of change orders that we're going to ask you to consider. One is during the design process, we had talked about murals, and those murals right now, we decided, let's let Castagna finish the building. When they're done, we're going to get the mural contractor in here to do the murals. In preparation for that, the station and many of the people in Norfolk who are helping them, they've been putting together photos and getting some historic photos and getting a lot of the graphics that they'd like to see in the building in terms of murals. In addition to that, to your question, Aaron, about the punch list, we're going to have a second list, which is kind of a better to do it now list than in the future list because the contractor's here. So there are going to be some things, and we're reviewing that with the chief, that we may come back and say, can we do this now, as opposed to something in the future? A good example of that is, during the design process, you always kind of have these contingencies aside, and you're always trying to kind of do the most cost-effective thing, where if something is not direly needed, one of them was the cameras. So we have closed circuit television cameras facing the front of the building, the side of the building. There are a couple of blind spots around the building. The idea there was, well, let's get these into the base bid. And then if there's money left over in the job, yeah, we'll buy a few more cameras. So we already have the infrastructure installed. So literally everything's installed. All you have to do is essentially just buy the camera. Everything's already there. So there are several of those types of things. So that's kind of the list that we'll be putting together over the next few weeks. We also wanted to hold off because as the station gets moved into, they started Monday, and already, some folks are walking in, like the closet poles and things like that. We just, we got to do something right away. Those are part of the contract, but there will be things like that. Every project, as we all know, the owner moves in and says, oh, I wish I did this rather than that. Can we get this adjusted? Whether it's video, audio, visual related, the alert system, the building itself, anything like that. So I think those will be the things that I just wanted to bring up in terms of, we don't want it to be a surprise 3 weeks from now after we say all these nice things about the project. It's been considered throughout the whole project. So some of these things were asked for like 6-7 months ago. And the decision was, let's put it on a list. Anything that we can do now that doesn't affect substantial completion, we'll do it. And you've been aware of those. anything that the contractor's like, that's bigger than a bread box. We don't want to have the electrician get distracted, or the plumber, or, the painter get distracted. Then we said, good, we're going to put it on a list. And once we're done doing what we're doing and we get occupancy, we'll do it then. So, and with that, some of these things, if there's any kind of, like, if we have to design anything, obviously we'd come to you and say, this is what we would need to do, as far as either the architect designing something or an engineer engineering something. Steve had, at the beginning of the job, you remember there was some allowances that we didn't use. And rather than do a change order to our contract to remove those allowances, we kind of said, well, you know what, let's just put it aside, because we didn't know how the job was going to go. And if there's anything at the end of the job that needs to get done, you have an allowance for that now, because we didn't need it for its intended use. And so that's already been aside. It's already in our contract, and there's already a dollar amount associated with it. If we, like Steve said, if we need it, we'll use, we intend to use it. If we don't need it, then we won't use it. And other than that, I think I wanted to go over the schedule. I don't know, Steve, I didn't receive anything from Jeff between the meeting and this meeting.
No.
But what we have done is we decided, all right, as we start phase 2, let's come up with what we consider a mini schedule for all the landscaping that needs to be done. We want to make sure we go out, tag the plants, get the plants planted at the right time. There has been some discussion about what is going to be considered too late in the season to plant, whether it's the seeding or whether it's the actual trees. We still have the green belt to install and all that planting in those areas. So we're supposedly getting a mini schedule, and I believe the planning board last night, Steve, said that they're basically looking at January 1st, 2025 to close out the whole job. And I think that was a safe time frame for obviously everything to get done, punch listed in terms of phase 2 getting done, punch listed, resolved, done, final payment.
Well, that was actually, because of the planting issue, they picked the January 21st, because that's their meeting day in January.
Right.
If we need an extension, we'll just appear in front of them again, and they'll provide an extension, because they had discussed maybe recommending their TCO to May, and they said, no, let's just go to the end of the year. So there's no problem with it. It just means we would have to request an extension to their TCO recommendation.
Also, on the lighter side of things, your air conditioning has been up and running now for a few weeks. We haven't heard any complaints from the neighbors, right?
No, I didn't even know it was on. I mean, I know it's on because it feels good there, but it's even
Okay.
when you walk there,
We walked around it today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty quiet.
What are you saying, Ron?
So having said that, if you remember at the beginning of all of this, we decided to put the acoustic study off until the end of the job to see like how loud things are, how quiet things are. So I think it's a good sign. There haven't been any complaints, and we'll see how it goes forward, but that's looking like that $7,000 won't need to be spent. I hope I didn't jinx it, but
So, Ron, this list of quote unquote things to do now versus later. Do you expect to have that list for our next meeting, or what's the timeline on that?
yeah, I think by the time, it gives us a month, the chief will be able to move in with his staff, give them a couple of weeks. We'll probably have the majority of that list all filled out by the next meeting. If not, we can at least say, here's the first part of it. There's really not a lot. I mean, it's really not a lot. It's just things that, it's always hard to read plans as an owner. And so, there's been a lot of discussion and quite frankly, there's been a lot of massaging of things as we've gone through the project, and that's what we expect to go further. I don't see any, Chief, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't see any big showstoppers, or, oh, geez, this really doesn't work. Because the staff, they've already been in the building so many times and really seen the way that everything's working. And it might come down to Matt too. So Matt's gonna go through, he's had some comments through the job. So, we'll see what it is, but so far we don't expect anything really egregious.
And Matt's been able to be there for all of the, almost all of the trainings for the individual, whether it's mechanical or lighting, any of that. He's been there for the trainings too, and we want to make sure that, he was in the know when things were lined up and set up like where it's convenient for him. So that's all been going smooth. We have another one tomorrow morning at 9 for the Prime event system, which, obviously he'll be there for that. And we'll do that one too. And I think I know we have commissioning tomorrow too. So tomorrow or even Friday, sorry, Friday. So it'll be a good day, but a busy day.
Like another example of what's on the list is, we've got some antennas up on the roof now for the communication system, the cell phone repeater or the cell phone booster, the alert system. And the thinking was, let's just get another antenna up there and then we can get over the air TV and not have to pay for cable TV. So it's little things like that. It just makes sense. Contractors on site, they've got those antennas installed. Let's just install one more and we can get over the air football games and baseball games and news and current events. And we could watch a debate, for instance, if a debate happened to be on TV. So it's little things like that just make total sense, just to get it done when the contractors are here.
Okay.
And then the last thing, the solar. Sorry, my architect's report. So the last thing is the solar. So Jennifer has called a few times now, and I just told her she has to, wait till we have occupancy. So now that the occupancy is done, and as we start going through phase 2, if you all need any help or anything like that, putting together an RFP for the solar system, or the solar array, I think that at least Revision Energy is one vendor who would be more than happy to help out putting the RFP together if you need to bid this. And so I just wanted to make sure that kind of remained on everybody's radar as well.
So we do need to bid it, correct? I think we talked about that at a previous.
Is that something, those services, are they on like Sourcewell and HVAC? Sometimes they have those services, which we could have a ready-made pre-bid that would make that process easier.
They do, and also before Matt Hafner left, the town signed up with Power Options. So we have a membership to that group, and I think Select is the main provider of Power Options group. I believe. I have to double check it, but I'm fairly confident.
So is there any sort of good timeline of when we should be considering that?
We have an energy committee in town, very active people for this stuff. Put them on.
Happy to meet next week.
Seems pretty reasonable. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So you would meet with them next week?
They have a meeting next week.
Oh, they have a meeting.
They have a meeting
Okay.
next week. And I was gonna stop in for one other project, so I guess we could put it on their radar.
And just
in
see,
advance and see.
we're considering it, what are kind of the next steps for that? Okay. Anything else, Ron?
Nope, that was it.
Okay.
Supposed to say end of report. Ron.
That is the end of the one and only report you'll get.
You gotta have a handy slide like Steve that says the end.
Yeah, right.
Okay. The only other thing I wanted to discuss, we really haven't talked about it at all, is a potential ribbon cutting. Obviously, my thought is we probably want to hold off until the building's down or the old building's down and some of the site work is complete. We can certainly talk about it further maybe at the next meeting, but maybe something in the November or December timeframe. Chief, you had mentioned something to me about that the department was thinking of having some sort of community event. I don't know if it makes sense to have it combined with that.
But one of the things, you know, my objective and our objective is just to try to get the community in there and sharing in the building is, you know, as soon as practically possible. We know as construction's happening and phases continue to go on, that's not
Right.
a possibility, but you know, there's also the school of thought that has been tossed out that we wait until everything is done, including landscaping, murals, everything, and have a big, you know, kind of open house celebration, even if that's in the spring. You know, we launch into the spring season and summer with a big, you know, big ribbon cutting, big celebration. Or if things progress, you know, enough to where we can do that in December, then we can do that in December and coordinate it with a, you know, whether it be a Christmas celebration or just a community gathering around the holiday season. We can do that too.
Tree lighting.
We could have Santa drive to the fire station this year instead of the library.
First Saturday in December. Yeah, but where it's Santa's on Sunday.
What's that?
The Santa parade is the first Sunday in December.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, maybe just something we can look at again in October and November meetings, just see how the site's progressing. So, okay. Any other discussion items from anyone?
I had one, I think I mentioned it to you down there. So I have, allowed as of today, 32 hours of overtime for, my building liaison maintenance person. And I was wanted to put before, is that something that, since it is, the only reason we, Deputy Chief Kelly and I kind of approved that was because we didn't want anything to go off kilter on the timeline. To date, it's just been one person who is like my facilities and equipment liaison, who's been taking care of that. He's done a great job to keep us on target, but he told us today that he's probably expecting another 36 total hours. Not just him. He wants to try to bring in a few extra people in a 4-hour block tomorrow and Friday to make sure we get everything out of that building so that there's no issues or no delays on our end, in terms of, you know, because we did hear today that once they start the abatement, we can't even touch it. We can't go in at all. So we've got a lot to do still in terms of getting everything out of there by Sunday evening so that Monday morning there's no issues. The magnitude of that, like to date, the number is $1,904 exactly. If I do the additional 36, and you know, it's going to be
Talking double that amount, basically.
yeah, basically.
So 4,000.
That's basically $4,000. I think when I ran the exact numbers, like 38 some change, something like that. But about 4,000 would be the max.
And so the thought would be to pay for this out of the project.
Yeah, because it's strictly for the project. Like the firefighter Masterson, who's been kind of taking the lead on this and is our liaison, he's kept it, you know, pretty much it's just been him so far. But you know, as we're coming up closer to, hey, we gotta, you know, and the on-duty crews obviously have done a lot of work too. But now that we're getting where we absolutely have to have that emptied out, there's still a little bit of stuff that we have to do. We have to completely move the EMS storage room. We didn't have the movers do that because obviously it wouldn't work. We're running ambulance calls multiple times a day, going in and out, getting supplies. Just wasn't, you know, conducive for us to trek back and forth with buckets of materials or medical supplies. So that's a big one. We already had that lined up for Saturday, but again, we're just looking to bring in a couple extra bodies to just take care of that. And that was, you know, so firefighter Madison, for example, he hasn't been taking any callbacks because he's been dedicated to that. Even when he's been there, he's been dedicated to that. And I don't want to pull him off of that work. He's been instrumental actually helping the contractors and Todd as well, you know, make sure we get stuff, you know, done and lined up like it needs to be. So,
I mean, so what's the alternative? Like, because if you don't get it done by Monday, or we have to get it done by Monday, so it's either that or we're hiring over. So,
Or somebody else pays for it,
what's that?
or somebody else pays for it.
You know, the contractor has to empty the building to do
the abatement.
abatement and get your, you know, prevailing wage.
Right, so. Seems like a no-brainer to me, but we can,
I think it's,
we should, we'll vote on it officially under action items, but does anybody else have any questions or?
I can't bite my tongue any longer. I mean, we worked hard to save money for the end of the project, and it seems like this is the 6th or 7th time today we've said, oh, we've got money, let's spend it. Let's just be careful. We're this close to the finish line in a good position. Let's not ruin it. I'm not saying this is ruining it. It's
Sure, well, I think, yeah, I think
it's $4,000 in the scheme of things. It's more the concept.
completely understood. It's gonna be a expense some way. So I think we can, I get your point, and I think we can take that under consideration when we get Ron's list of stuff.
and by that time.
Yeah.
We will have an idea of what phase 2 looks like on the ground. So
Yeah, and that was,
that may help a lot.
and this is, you know, one of the reasons I brought up is that, you know, I recognize, you know, as we started the process, I was like, you know, the timing, we're up against it because we had 3 weeks to pack up, but we only have 1 week or we were going to charge extra for all of the boxes and everything. So part of this is to get those boxes emptied, get stuff put away because we don't want to have any extra costs incurred from the movers from their boxes and stuff like that too. So that's kind of what my thought process was to, you know, hopefully, obviously, if we do it, the prevailing wage is probably more than what we're going to be paying for a couple people to come in and form blocks to help with that.
Any other discussion on it before we move to action items?
Yeah, what are we gonna do with the committee?
I imagine we're gonna stay on until the project's over in this, I guess either December or spring, but
I thought you all were permanent. You were going to do all the building projects from now on. This one went so
there's already
great.
another building committee school. There's already another building committee for that, so too late. I don't know.
You mean too late? Perfect timing.
I get it.
I just was thinking, like,
Yeah,
we need to.
Formally,
So if we just let our terms run out, when does our term end? And it's every year, right?
Until June, I think,
We just swore in.
which might align with the
Well,
landscape.
we voted to meet every month, right? But it doesn't, like, come January, we don't meet.
Too, yeah. I think
We
probably,
can meet as necessary.
yeah, I think probably through November we'll meet monthly and then we can take it from there. Hiatus. What's that? Go on hiatus. Yeah. Okay. That was a bummer to bring up.
Like hanging out with you guys. I guess maybe we could meet at the fire
Yeah,
station.
that's right.
Hey, go
We built a hangout. That's right.
Yeah. Take it back. Let's keep going.
Yeah, the meeting's Thursday night. We'll watch Thursday night football. The rest of the night.
There we go.
Coordinate it. We'll meet
Big
out
chairs.
before and then watch the game. You know, that work.
Glad I brought it up.
Right now, yeah, now we're getting somewhere. All right, first action item is to vote on Mass Save Incentive Program. So I guess how should anybody have a suggestion on how I should word this? This is, do we have like an amount that we're?
Participate.
Yes.
See the center program.
Yeah, it's the $6,000 250. Well, I'm sorry.
Should I even give an
know.
amount or?
Project impact was 6,000. Yeah, because we're,
Well, it's, I think you have to approve it 12,500.
Yeah.
With the condition that 50% is gonna be reimbursed by, Mass Save.
You have to pay the full amount up front.
who's getting reimbursed? The town or the project?
Huh?
Technically, the
The
project,
Yes.
project, which
it's
is
paid
the
out.
town,
Project,
so, you know,
but it's town money.
because I mean, we're expending money from the project, so the reimbursement will go back to the project.
All right.
Clear?
And it's the green engineer.
I think so. We'll take a stab at it. So I'll ask for a motion to participate in the Mass Save Incentive Program to engage third-party engineer, the green engineer, for $12,500, which would be reimbursed 50% for an overall project cost of the project of $6,250 to track energy usage over the coming year, with a rebate provided by Mass Incentive at the end of that year. How's that?
Good.
Okay, do we have a
Yep.
second? Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, passes unanimously. Up there. So then, before we'll do meeting minutes last, maybe. So the overtime. Should we ask for approval up to $4,000?
To exceed 4,000.
Not to exceed $4,000. So I'll ask for a motion to pay overtime for fire department staff to assist in the move over the coming week at an amount not to exceed $4,000 to be applied to the project budget. Discuss before anyone accepts the motion, or do I need to reword that?
Second.
I don't think anybody's accepted it first.
You made it.
So moved. I was gonna say so moved.
Okay, second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes. Approval of the meeting minutes.
It's from August 14th, 2024. Had no comments. Ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I wasn't here, so I have to abstain.
Oh,
We'll also abstain.
All those in attendance passed. All right, any other action items? All right, then I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.